Welcome to Morning Journal session number 397. I'm your host, G Forte, or just G, or Jared if you're feeling like you can say that. Glad to have you here for this session. We're going to get started by taking a look at how we are feeling right now as we get started in the morning. Our first prompt to check in is to kind of check into yourself, check into your body. I know we usually notice things. We're grateful for things a lot of times as we start the session. This time we're going to kind of check in on a more personal level, hone in on how you feel. So the prompt is right now, I feel, and then you can fill in that blank with what sensations you are experiencing in your body, what emotions you're feeling inside your heart and your head. Just let us know how you feel. And then you can take it a step further and put that feeling on a scale. Get a sense of the magnitude of how you are feeling right now. So on a scale of 1 to 10. I think right now I feel a little giddy. I think it's one of the occasions where the onset of the effects of the caffeine coincided with the beginning of the stream. Because it takes a while before the coffee to really hit your system. So the energy is a little bit different. So I'm at about a 7 on the giddy euphoric scale. And I'm glad that I've moderated my intake of caffeine. I don't typically have caffeine later in the day. I usually preserve it for the morning, or I preserve it for a reset. And I've pretty much eliminated all forms of caffeine other than coffee. Like I don't do any of the supercharged energy drink type things that sometimes my lifestyle seemed to necessitate. Now I just, okay, have a little coffee, take it slowly over the course of say 30 minutes, and then let it do its thing. So let's see how you're feeling right now. Warrior Sam says, "Oh, I feel all right." All right. So I don't so all right is one of those things that those ways of feeling that it really matters the inflection that you say it in the context that you say it in. So all right could be all right, or it could be all right. So I'm wondering if you could say more, or if you could quantify that, what that means for you. Is all right just kind of down the middle for you? Sometimes that is the neutral is a good place to be when you are dealing with a lot of unpredictability, because you don't want to get too high, you don't want to get too low, you want to stay even keel so that you can function. So I get that. I get that. T Mizzle says, I feel a little odd at about a 5. A little odd. Maybe this is a little bit of a surreal moment that we are experiencing, and we're trying to find a way to recognize ourselves in the context of everything that's going on, and recognize ourselves in the moment. Who are we in the moment that we are experiencing right now? Okay, so let's get into our first official prompt. After we check in, we're gonna start a series, uh, go with a series of prompts around the theme. And the first prompt in that theme is this: what would bring more joy into my daily life? What would bring more joy into my daily life? I know sometimes joy is a difficult thing to aspire to. If you are, there are a lot of things that are going on that, you might see, it seems like it's a stretch to imagine something as bold as joy. But just for the sake of a thought experiment, imagine if joy was a necessity like water is. That after, if you could imagine that you could only go a certain amount of time without some hint of joy, some dose of something that lights you up. Under that context and under those conditions, what could you imagine to that you could include into your daily life so that you can have that needed thing? So of course, it's not like water in the sense that you don't, drop dead in a matter of a few days without it. But imagine it was, just for the sake of a thought experiment. Imagine joy was a necessity. If you had to treat it like a necessity, and when you didn't have it, you had to make it a priority to find it somehow. Now, under those conditions, consider the prompt. What would bring more joy into my daily life? You might have to, sometimes you have to uh, go through your personal history and look back at experiences and things that you've done that pointed you in the direction of joy. You might have to reflect on aspects aspects of your life you haven't thought about, or activities that you haven't engaged in or pursued. There are a few ways to pursue an answer to this question. One is to look at your history, at things that you have an experience of feeling joy, uh, things that you have enjoyed in the past. Another way to do it is to consider it as an experiment. Consider it as a pursuit. What might bring me joy? You don't know for sure, but just like food and water, if you were in a situation where you had to go and find it, it might require some creative exploration. What might bring joy into my daily life? What might spark something? I think for me, I think learning does that. Learning new things. I mean, it doesn't have to be an overwhelming sense of euphoric joy, but when I am engaged sort of intellectually, or when my curiosity is being piqued and I'm pursuing something interesting, there's some joy in that, and the lights coming on a new idea. That's one thing for me, learning something. So uh, one of the things for Warrior is, in response, is slowing my thoughts down and learning that resting is okay. Finding joy in rest. Finding joy in rest. So some form of rest is a necessity. At some point, we can go a while for sure, and maybe we can go longer than we think we can. But at some point, um, the body's just going to shut down, and it's going to put you into a situation of forced rest. We don't necessarily want to get to that level. So recognizing that, stopping, being able to stop and rest, understanding that create a creative life. If you want to, a metaphor that comes to mind for me when I think about rest is music. So music wouldn't work without rest. Like, most of the music is in the pauses, is in the negative space. That's what gives the sound its meaning. That's what creates the rhythm. Rhythm isn't just the beat, it's also the rest, the space in between. So recognize, and I know Warrior is a drummer, just think about, no matter how fast you're playing, what gives the sound definition is the rest. So in that sense, the rest is required to really create what we recognize as music. Rest is part of the work. So another response we have here is physical movement would bring me joy. I love dancing, but I think exercise may be more effective. Well, I guess, dance is a form of exercise if you are, you know, when I think about dance as a form of exercise, the thing that pops up in my mind is the opening sequence to Do the Right Thing, where Rosie Perez is just kind of on the screen dancing to Public Enemy. And there is no universe where you wouldn't count what she's doing as exercise. And some people use dance as a way to get over the drudgery of exercise. We've done the thought experiment. Imagine that joy is necessity. How will we seek it out? So now let's take a look at kind of a different angle on this, because we're talking about, at the end of the day, joy is a type, it's a vibration, it's sort of an energetic reality. And let's think about these prompts. So it's a kind of a match set here. What activities energize me and what activities drain me? Now, I want to also put a little context on this one. You want to take a broad view of time when you consider the energizing and draining activities, because there's some things that energize you in the short term, and then you pay the price for it later. And there's some things that feel draining in the moment, but they pay dividends. Think about the energy, sort of your energy flow over the course of a day, over the course of the week. What might that look like? Activities that energize you. I think T. Mizzle was leaning in that direction when she was talking about exercise, because that's a perfect example of something that drains you in the moment but energizes you long term. So Warrior says, well, exercise drains you. Running errands, yeah, running errands is a draining thing. And going to calls, I guess there's always that sense of being in, reactive mode over the long term that can drain you. But I guess you recognize the necessity of the exercise in order to just keep yourself going. So yeah, it was one of those things that, okay, I've worked my body so that I can go out and do the things that I need to do. So on the other side of things, Warrior says, the things that energize me are drumming, sometimes exercise, and then being with my son. A person is an activity. Maybe you're engaging in an activity with them, but some people do have an energetic pull in one way or not, in one way or another on you. There are people who it feels good to be around, and there's people who doesn't feel great to be around. You feel exhausted afterwards. So you kind of have to watch those connections. I guess those relationships are they are part of the environment. For T Mizzle, movement, dancing, skating, listening to music energize you. And then the draining things are lectures and deep cleaning. Yeah, I get that. Lectures. I listen. I love listening to lectures. I like to see someone speak fluently on a topic that they've mastered. That's my jam right there. So that's why it's such a personal thing. You have to look at what is true for you. All right, we got one more prompt. All right, this prompt. What am I looking forward to? What am I looking forward to? In general, we're kind of speaking on energy. And when we say what are we looking forward to, we're thinking about the things that have a pull on us. There's something very useful about having a point on the horizon that you are excited to move towards. or at least you are not indifferent to, you know, looking forward. Okay, I got this thing, I got this thing coming up, and it can just give you a little boost of energy every day because, you know, that vacation is coming up, that trip is coming up, that thing that I've been excited for, the day is getting closer. I've made a plan. So whatever's going on, I know I have this thing to look forward to. Most of the enjoyment of the thing that you're looking forward to is in the looking forward to it. It's in the anticipation of it. So a lot, you know, it's not an uncommon thing that you look forward to something for a while, and then when it happens, it's okay. But most of your enjoyment of it was in the anticipation. Something to look forward to, things to look forward to. I bought a book from a person in a Facebook group once, and I'm done reading the 3 books. Once I'm done reading the 3 books you're working on, you're ready to dive into that one. If you're reading something that you know you got another thing to start, that can be a little bit of a little boost of energy. Warrior is looking forward to practicing and filming a drum cover. Might post later. Yeah, that's that learning thing, you know, that I was speaking to before. Learning something is a source of joy. So learning something, mastering something, it gives you a sense. It has some of that anticipation of looking forward, and also just that joy in the moment of being able to watch your progress and feel the lights turning on something for you. All right, so we've come to the end of the session, engaged with 3 prompts, really centered on joy and energy, and for lack of another way to say it's just kind of positive vibrations, positive vibes. We imagining that just for the sake of a thought experiment, imagining that joy is a necessity. How can we bring more of it into our lives? What drains us? What energizes us? Is there a way that we can navigate our day so that we can do the things that need to be done, but also incorporate things that feed us so that at the end of the day, at the end of the week, we are in a better place? You know, our life isn't falling apart because we've neglected things, because we've been too out of it to do it. But we've also experienced some joy in the process. Because I think sometimes we have this perception of joy, seeking joy as sort of an irresponsible or reckless thing or potentially destructive thing, because maybe the things that we sought joy in before created that result for us. You know, as a grown up, playtime is over. So joy is something for kids on the playground. Maybe that's a belief that we have that keeps us away from that pursuit. But, you know, just imagine that's not true, and imagine ways that you can incorporate joy in a way that makes your life a little better and gives you even a better outcome than you imagined before. And if it's not a better outcome, at least a better experience along the way. Because at the end of the day, that's what we have, the experience along the way. All right, folks, this has been session number 397 of Morning Journal. Thank you for taking the time to join us. And thank you for listening. We'll be back again soon. See you tomorrow. If you're here live, I'll see you tomorrow.